What the fuck is this? Is this a joke? Is it wearable? Is it functional? Is it... What am I looking at here? This watch caught my attention when a friend shared with me not the watch, but some of the feedback that the watch company had on its website. I just felt like any watch company that put quotes like these on its website, that's my kind of company. But I'd never heard of Straton before, so I got in touch with them and they sent me 2 watches to look at. The Sprint Cuffbuster, that we all have lots of questions about, and the Special, which is a bit more in line with what Straton usually offers. Straton makes affordable watches inspired by funky automotive watches of the 60s and 70s. Now, I'm sure that's an oversimplification, but this is YouTube. It's made for reducing things to only a few slightly true facts. And speaking of facts, let me run through some of the deets about this Special watch. That's right, I said deets. Yes, this is the more traditional watch in this video, and it ain't what I would call traditional. This is one of Straton's only mechanical watches, although there is also a quartz version of this same watch, which is a really nice choice for customers to have. Its design is old school, and so is its movement, the good old Valjoux 7750, just like nearly any watch that looked like this 50 years ago would use. And because of that movement, the watch is 15.9mm thick, though the quartz reference is 13mm thick. The black DLC case is 42mm wide, and get this, it's 40.8mm long from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. That's because it doesn't have normal lugs, they're hidden under the case. A case which kind of reminds me of Dark Helmet from Spaceballs, but most things remind me of Spaceballs. The Special has a screw-down crown and 100 meters of water resistance. These watches come on leather straps, but this one is on a $79 bracelet that Straton also sells. Though the finishing on the bracelet and case don't quite match. The case is polished and the bracelet is brushed. The automatic mechanical version of this watch sells for $1,200 and the Mecha Quartz version sells for $500. Okay, now we can talk about the freak in the room, the Sprint, aka the Cuffbuster. It might surprise you to learn that this design is actually not new. This is based on a watch from 1972 made by DeSotos. The new watch uses a quartz movement and a different layout. But it might not surprise you to learn that the original 1972 watch was not a smash hit. Not super popular, and maybe it wasn't meant to be. This is definitely a niche watch. The idea is that it's for race car drivers to be able to see their timing without taking their hand off the wheel to move their sleeve down. Now, you might ask, why not just wear the watch over your sleeve during a race? That's what a lot of fighter pilots did in World War II. To which I would respond, mind your own business, nerd, man, shoot. Enjoying this watch requires just the right amount of critical thinking. Not nothing, but not too much either. The steel case of the Cuffbuster it's complicated. It's 37.5mm long from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, it's 12mm thick, and it's 59mm wide, 59mm. It has a screw-down crown with 100 meters of water resistance. The watch uses a modified VK67 Mecha Quartz movement and a bigly domed sapphire crystal. The first 500 watches will sell for $349 and the rest will sell for $499. They start shipping in December. And there are 6 dial options for the Sprint Cuffbuster, and this one is blue if you couldn't tell. Usually, everyone wants to know the circumference of my 7-inch wrist, which honestly, I don't even know how big around my 7-inch wrist is, and we may never know. But for this watch, you may want to know how long my forearm is, and I can tell you this, it goes all the way down. But seriously, for wearability of this watch, the most important thing is the location of the narrowest part of your wrist. A watch will tend to settle on wherever the narrowest place in your arm is. For some people, that's right at the base of their hand. For me, it's a bit further up the arm. And that's important here because one of the questions you've been wondering is, doesn't this watch hit the back of your hand when you bend your wrist? And the answer is, of course it does. How could it not? But if your wrist is narrow further away from your hand, if the watch settles a bit up the arm, it's really not much of a problem. Could I do push-ups with this watch on? No. I couldn't do push-ups without the watch on either, but my point is that for me, It's only with the extreme bending of my wrist. That's the only time this watch is a problem. Okay, well that's not only when the watch is a problem. It's a very problematic watch if you don't like weird watches, because there's no way around this. Even understanding the purpose of this thing, it's really damn weird. But it's also pretty functional. Wearing this on and off for a week, I gotta admit that it's been useful to be able to read the time without pushing my cuff out of the way. The design does give faster access to the time. But at what cost, man? Maybe the ridicule of friends and family? Maybe. But chances are good that if you wear this for a bit, you won't have any friends or family, so problem solved. I'm kidding. In its own way, this really does look cool. The case is well finished for a watch under $500, with horizontal brushing along the huge slab of metal. And I really like the bullhead design. That's when a chronograph is rotated counterclockwise 90 degrees and the pushers are at the top of the watch. It's another look that's common to 70s racing watches. The dial has some nice details, good color, and very much fits with the vintage aesthetic, and that's all without using tan lume, and it has strong lume too. This glows nicely in the dark. It's a really good looking watch, I think, maybe. And I think I like it, maybe. I don't know. I'll tell you this. I'm not mad at it. In fact, I'm glad that Straton is doing this. I do see this as trying to solve a problem that exists, and yeah, this is one possible solution. And I suspect, no, I actually know that there are some people who are bothered by this watch. It upsets their delicate minds. I also know that there are some people who are very intrigued by this watch and want to try it out. Divisive, that's a good word for a watch like this. But going back to those first things that I ever saw about this watch, these customer quotes, these being on the brand's website, that tells me everything I need to know. That this watch isn't taking itself too seriously, and you shouldn't take it too seriously either. And on that note, here's another watch joke for you. For my birthday, a friend gave me a watch, but it stopped working. I haven't told him yet. It's almost never the right time.